9th of May is a red-letter day in the history of Russia. This day is celebrated as Victory Day and is marked by a grand and pompous parade that highlights the might of Russian military. On this day, the Red Square in Moscow becomes the center stage to display the clout of the Russian forces. This time, Russia is due to hold a drastically scaled back Victory Day celebrations tomorrow amid heightened security concerns following last week's drone attack on the Kremlin and an imminent Ukrainian counter-offensive. One of the most recognizable events, the Immortal Regiment March, a solemn procession of people with portraits of their Second World War veteran relatives, has also been scrapped this year. But many critics also term these celebrations a propaganda tool by the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The carefully orchestrated victory parades that take place across the country traditionally present the Kremlin with an opportunity to flaunt modern Russian military might. In this video, we bring to you a brief history of this day besides explaining why this day is usually so crucial for Putin's projection of power. But before that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Oneindia. Victory Day marks the immense sacrifice the Russian people and other nations of the Soviet Union made in the fight against Nazism. The USSR had lost lives of millions of people in World War II, which is also identified as the Great Patriotic War. World War II has always been central to the Russian approach of telling the country's history. While the Allies marked May 7 as VE Day, that is Victory in Europe Day, to commemorate the Nazis surrendering in France, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin wanted to wait to celebrate until the Nazis had surrendered in Soviet-controlled Berlin the next day. By the time the text was signed late at night, it was already May 9 by Moscow time. So the Victory Day is celebrated on 9th of May in Russia. The first Victory Day parade was held in 1945 and until the 1990s it was only held on special anniversaries of World War II. In 1995, under former Russian President Boris Yeltsin, the parade became an annual event. In the 1990s, it featured workers and civilians, but following NATO's expansion into former Soviet states on Russia's fringes throughout the 2000s, the parade's military element increasingly took center stage, with rockets and missiles becoming a major focus. But Vladimir Putin took it to another level. This day has gradually become the centerpiece of Vladimir Putin's concept of Russian identity over his 2 decades in charge, and for him, it is the most important event of every year. He derives his whole legitimacy from the parade, framing himself as the direct successor of the army that defeated Nazi Germany. And with over a year of offensive against Ukraine, this day becomes more crucial for him. Last year, just before the start of war with Ukraine, he had described one of his main goals as the denazification of the country. Russian soldiers have since then spotted wearing the orange-black St. George's ribbon, which has become the symbol both of the Second World War victory and of the war in Ukraine. So essentially, this day gives Vladimir Putin an opportunity to show his military might. He has repeatedly invoked the Holocaust, World War II and Nazism to justify Kremlin's violence against Ukraine. But on the eve of 9th of May, Russia looks far from triumphing in a war it initially expected to last just a few weeks. Moscow's winter and spring offensive across a 160-mile arc in eastern Ukraine, which started in February, has brought the country minimal gains at staggering cost. Western officials have estimated that more than 20,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in fighting in Ukraine since December alone. Putin cast the war in Ukraine as a battle to protect Russian speakers there from persecution by Nazis and to guard against what he terms the US threat to Russia posed by NATO enlargement. Since its 2008 invasion of Georgia, Putin has often voiced a romantic version of Russian nationalism, one where the country is and should be accorded great power status in Europe. He has been trying to position himself alongside Peter the Great, Catherine the Great and Stalin as the fourth leader of a great and powerful Russia, and the grand celebrations help him solidify his beliefs among the common Russians. This was all about the Victory Day celebrations in Russia and how Putin uses the occasion to solidify his own narrative. We hope you would like this new video. Thank you so much for watching.